3, 2, 1. Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Sonic Host Coast to Coast. This is the shipping edition, brought to you by DHL, FedEx, UPS, and are there any other international shipping companies I'm missing? Who else is? Well, they're not sponsoring the show. I'd love if they could. I would love.
They got the money.
Yeah, right. USPS. Well, I guess that's only the U.S. because our audience is mostly in the U.S. Thank you, our U.S. listeners. But yes, if you're listening to this, as of this recording, it is in my time zone. It is February 9th, 2025. But this is our special Valentine's Day episode. And, of course, I am always joined by our, the illustrious, I don't know why I use this adjective, but you're illustrious, Malzilla. How are you today, Malzilla?
Can you feel the love tonight?
Are you feeling illustrious? That's my question.
I'm feeling uncanny, to be honest.
Okay, all right. Huh. And, of course, we have a returning special guest to our show. You know her through... the handle Chauvel. How are you today?
Hello. I guess love is in the air. It's not quite Valentine's Day, but it will be by the time of this recording, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say by the time you're listening to this, it's probably gonna be, Valentine's Day, and it's like, what better way, and if you don't have a date, than to talk about the love lives of fictional characters.
Yes.
I couldn't think of a better way to spend my time.
Dim down the lights, pour yourself a glass of wine, Crevassier, put on a little smooth jazz in the background. Fun time had by all.
Yes.
Is that the wine you're drinking, Malzilla?
I was gonna open up a bottle, but
I just remembered I forgot to open up my bottle.
I did too. So I ended up getting I have my tea, my turmeric and ginger tea. Not very
Oh, okay. I'm drinking mint
sexy.
tea. Yeah.
I just have my water.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of mint, I've developed an addiction for mint ice cream Klondike bars. They're really good and don't go down the dark path like I am.
Okay. Is everybody writing that down? Everybody got that? All right, good.
Everyone got that?
I think so.
Yes.
Good. So, when they ask you what would you do for a Klondike bar, make sure it's like, is it a mint Klondike bar? Let's do.
Yeah. I mean, if everyone here, probably I think most of our listeners are in the northern hemisphere. It's pretty cold out. It's very cold out.
It started snowing tonight, actually, for me.
Oh, we were supposed to get some snow today, but we never did, so poo.
It very rarely snows in Tokyo. Very rarely. And if it does, it's like, wow, snow! I get the day off. That's awesome.
Nice.
But yes, it is a very cold February, and it is for some reason, the calendars they tell us that this is the season of love. So what better, because this is a Sonic show, we want to talk about the most contentious thing in the Sonic fandom, the thing that everyone loves, but Sega obviously wants, us. I don't know. What would you say Sega says? Do you think Sega wants us talking about this or not talking about it?
If anything, they're pretty much don't want us to even mention it.
Yeah.
The idea, the notion of love does not exist. I continue.
Because
I guess what it is.
I guess diving into my first topic here, because if we're going to be talking about shipping here, probably the only best known ship, probably in all of Sonic, is probably Sonami. Yes?
Yes, I would agree to that too. If you ask me that question, let's say,
for our
I gotta
listeners,
remember how old I am doing some
I'm
math.
gonna make
20 years ago,
Okay.
I would have said Sonic and Sally, but
20 years ago.
even
Okay.
then, I think people would argue no, Amy and Sonic.
I'd actually I would provide a counter to that.
Okay.
Because really, much like Chauvel said, it's kind of almost going to depend on when you ask that question. I would say right now, Stone Botnik is kind of the big ship. because because of the movies. So that's
Yes.
that's
That
that's
that's actually kind of funny because I've noticed more fan art of that. Very cute stuff too. Very adorable. A stone Robotnik
I'll say
fan
this.
art.
Agent Stone deserves better. He
Oh,
puts up a
absolutely.
lot.
He needs someone that appreciates him.
But
Wow. Okay.
before we get in, can I give a little preamble of why we're actually talking about this?
Yes, please.
Oh,
Um,
please do.
okay. Well, yes, obviously we wanted to do something for Valentine's Day, and that's why it's like, well, if you're gonna do something about Sonic, you're probably gonna have to talk about shipping at one point or another, and what's the best time to do it? Valentine's Day. But also at the same time is like I've seen a bunch of podcasts. Everyone's like, why do we like get so obsessed with all this stuff? It's like, it's honestly, there's a bunch of different reasons, but I think at the end of the day is like humans by their nature, I think for the most part are romantics. It reminds me, the one scene from the Dead Poets Society where Robin Williams is talking why humans write poetry, and it's kind of like I think we all kind of want to love and find companionship. For the most part, some people don't. And that's fine too. But if you look at the history of the Sonic franchise, it's always been there, whether we realized it or not. I mean, again, going back to Madonna, like they were originally going to do kind of a Jessica Rabbit, Roger Rabbit relationship between Sonic and a human, and then that evolved. Eventually got into Sally and Amy kind of popped up, on each side of the Pacific roughly at the same time. So yeah, it's just it's part of the again, it's part of the franchise whether we like it or not, and I think it's kind of fun to talk about in its own weird way. So that's why we're here, and all that fun stuff.
I guess also,
All
too, I
right.
wanted to bring up as well, if you have a bone to pick with one of us about one of our favorite ships, be sure to write something down in the comments below. We love hearing from you.
Exactly, that's very
Okay,
true.
if you have a problem with any ship that I have, feel free to write me and I will promptly delete the message.
Okay. Well, you hear
Well
it.
said.
You heard it here. But I'm sure fine to Yeah, I was listening to the show where they actually they bring guests or they bring listeners on that just called a
Just,
bone to pick.
I'm, of course I'm
Really?
kidding, but half kidding. Like if you really truly have a problem with anything, it's like, oh please just throw it into the ether.
It's one of those things where like the ship wars have just it's almost a part of the franchise at this point, especially
Hmm.
kind of it really kind of exacerbated in the 2000s. And it's one thing when you're young and you kind of don't know better, because that's what
Yeah.
like one thing like looking back, and this is across all fandoms that I've been in through my years. It's like I dislike certain characters because for shipping reasons. And then I got older and realized that's just dumb. This is a great character. Shipping shouldn't be the reason we like or dislike characters. So, but at the same time, they're kind of fun. You do, because I think at the end of the day, we all love the character dynamics of this franchise and of any franchise, really. And just seeing how these characters interact is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that too. I like, even when I was younger, I didn't really I didn't have fights over shipping. Like as I was getting, like, when I say older, just when this is the time Sonic X started premiering on Fox or whatever channel it was on. I don't think it was Fox. I think it was like CW. Which one was
It
it?
was
Was it
Fox.
WB?
It
Okay, it
was
was
Fox.
Fox. So it started coming up, and a lot of the kids I knew didn't read or even watch. They didn't watch Sonic Saturday Morning. They didn't even read the Sonic comics. They didn't even know it existed. So their ship was Amy, even as early on as that. It was like, oh, that's the end game is Amy. And for me, I thought like, but I like Sally better. I think she's more fun. But I didn't get into arguments, and I think the reason was because they didn't know who Sally was at the time.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you look at the history of the franchise, Sonic gained so many new fans in that 2001 to 2004, block
Mm-hmm.
because of, Sonic X, Sonic Adventure 2, and, all that fun stuff where again, they brought Amy back into the forefront and,
Yeah, she was
it was
reintroduced into the game, and I know millennials who were my age, like still considered like they like again it was like they knew of Sally, but they didn't read the comics or anything, so it was like a Sally who situation. Amy was their OTP, as they said.
Oh, that's a term I haven't heard in quite some time.
Yes.
The OTP. There you go. But well, do we want to jump into
One
the
time password?
one time now, right? Well, do we want to dive into the fun stuff, or do we want to kind of like,
Well, I don't know,
ease
because
our way in?
Malzilla, you had, for our listeners out there who don't know what OTP is, it's one true pairing, not one-time password. Or maybe it is. Maybe it's both. Maybe your one-time pairing is your password. So, actually, you need a better password if that's really your password.
I think that we all have that as our password at like when we were like 15. So no judge.
I like beer and I like fucking. I like beer fuck. That's gonna be my password. Yes. Yeah. There you go. No. So Malzilla, you have a list of like your categories. Now we all came to this show, basically with categories of best ships, worst ships. So Malzilla, divulge. Tell us about your shipping history.
Well, I got to make this joke now. So, best ship is the egg carrier. End of story. Just kidding. Had to do that. Again, it's one of those
Egg
interesting
carrier
things.
is pretty good. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a good ship. Yeah. But
wait. Hold on. Before you go into your other ships, what other ships are there in Sonic? I can't think of any others besides the egg carrier.
There's the what's the thing that wasn't there just in post Archie? It was like the Freedom Carrier or whatever they called it.
Sky Patrol.
Sky Patrol, yes.
They basically in the shape of the Sonic logo with the wings.
Yeah.
It was gaudy. It was gaudy as hell, but it was
I
kinda
loved
neat.
it. How dare you?
I loved it too, but it was just like rotor. It's like it's such a bizarre shape for a plane.
It has the
Or,
wings. It works.
I mean, yeah, it's a mobile battle station. That's
Yeah,
that's what
pretty
it
much.
was. It's fully
So there you go.
operational
There's your
battle.
ship, the egg carrier and the Sky Patrol.
I will
OTP.
OTP, but I forget what the name of like his ship in Sonic 06. For some reason, the word Colossus comes to mind, but I probably am wrong. So
Hmm.
Okay. Wow, the Sonic Wiki is like balls out. There's so much stuff on here.
Oh, the Sonic Wiki. I was there for a moment to look up. I was like, oh, I need to know a reference to something I'm writing, and it's like a whole a whole Bible of like for this one character. Like, yeah, I'm not reading all that.
Yeah, because
yeah,
I'm looking through
I'll
this
keep that
now.
for references.
I'm like, because
I'll make up my own lore.
yeah, right.
the deep lore.
I'm looking at this right now, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the name of it. I'm like, the only ship I can ever really think of, like ship, not relationship,
Mm-hmm.
is basically the egg carrier. And I'm like, there on here. I'm looking right away. There's Eggmobile, Final Weapon, Blue Typhoon, Starlight Carnival, Babylon Garden, Lunar Fox, the Egg Shuttle, and Tails' spaceship. And I have, besides the Eggmobile, if you held a gun to my head and you say, what are these things? I would not be able to tell you.
Yeah, I can't even visually see them.
There's a
I'm sure if I
couple of
look at it, I'll remember, but I
like
just can't off the top of my head.
there's a couple that are like coming to my brain now that I think about it. Like, Tails' spaceship was basically from Shadow 05. They basically like took the Cyclone, which was Tails' plane in Sonic Adventure 2, and this
Mhm.
like made that the bow of a wannabe you know spaceship. It was pretty funny.
Hmm. I mean,
What
The
about that
more
ship
you
Tails had in Sonic X?
Yeah, that was kind of like I think they called it the Tornado X because again, X gonna give it to you.
is that the
Not the
Metarex?
Tornado 3.0.
Yeah. What about the Metarex? Does that count?
Did it.
Okay. All right. Anyway, continue, please. I digress.
Um,
Can you?
yeah, so
Sorry, we're
basically I kind of came up with like a ranking. You have your best ships, those are your OTPs. You have your cute ships. You have your indifferent neutral ships, your meh ships, your controversial WTF ships, which are ones I would say is like it doesn't make sense, but it has some backing. Then you have your worst ships; those could be your no TPs, and then the best ships of all are your crack ships, the ships that make no sense
yes.
at all and are just there for the lulz, and you just say, you know what, you're just gonna roll with it.
Okay. So without further
So,
ado, tell us what are those ships? You can't keep them hidden. You know, people will figure it
um,
we
out.
can start with our uh I don't know, most popular favorite.
I think we can. I mean, I think if Chauvel, this is your third time to show. Obviously, our
Hmm.
listeners kind of know which ones we like. Might as well
Yes,
just dive in, get that stuff out of the way, and then we can get to the funnier stuff later on. Um,
absolutely.
it's one of those things where, like, for me, I'll admit it. Son Alley is if I look back on my history of fandom, it's probably one of, if not my first OTPs. And even to this day, they just had the best dynamic. And again,
Hmm.
Sad AM Archie, different continuity than the games. Sonic's, different little background. And I've come to this decision that when something of the Sonic franchise actually goes into Sonic's background, it kind of can illuminate kind of what they're really into. Like again, people have complained a lot about movie Sonic not being game Sonic because he's just, hanging out in Green Hills all the time. Whereas, it's like, well, because we know his backstory, he was, he's living all by himself and he wanted to be part of a community. So yeah, he's gonna be, chilling out. But it all kind of shapes his kind of perspective on things. So again, Sonic and Sally, their dynamic was great. As you got older, you kind of realized the art, the Sonic and Sally dynamic waxed and waned depending on who was writing at the time.
Oh
Sometimes
yeah. Oof.
that's a big oof right there. But for the most part, it was solid. They bounced off each other really well. They were, um, you know, to be cliche, it's the classic saying of opposites attract, but similarities last. And
Hmm.
Sonic and Sally to me were kind of that perfect example of kind of right in the middle because, they did have opposite personalities, but they had all the same goals. They had the same outcomes, the same values. So, it worked. They balanced each other out because they had this, they had the same goals, like for example, like Rouge and Knuckles are very much, I would say, an opposites attract type ship. Just
Hmm.
personalities, goals, values. There's that spark of chemistry. But at the same time, if you kind of deep delve, and we'll probably talk about it more as we get to the Knuckle ships, but it's just like I don't see that one thing lasting. Like it's one of those things where it's like they would date for like maybe a year or two, and then it's like, this is not working out.
I could see that.
And and ultimately, I'd almost make the argument that a lot of ships really, I feel like, especially in the Sonic fandom, are kind of built on the chase. Where
Yeah, I was gonna get to that eventually, but I'll let you finish.
there's one ship in particular, I think we all know which one is extremely built on the chase, where it's like it's fun to see them poke and prod and chase after it, but as the Joker told Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight, I'm like a dog chasing cars. I don't know what I'd do with it if I caught it. And that's just one of those things where if they do becoming, what do you do with them then? And it's kind of like a big question mark because all their dynamic is, based on the chase. So, but yeah, I would say, for me personally, Sonic they're the OTP, and then we'll go into more ships across the fandom as we go along. I have some fun crack ships. I have some WTF ships that I've been trying to trying to understand, because that's one thing I've gone older. I've always kind of wondered, why do people ship this? I want to know the why. Maybe this is just growing up and realizing there's a lot of great different people out there, and we're all not so different along the grand scheme of things. But
So different, you and I.
we're not so different, you and I. I'm something of a shipper myself.
Thank you,
But yeah,
thank you, Willem Dafoe from early 2000 Spider-Man.
Honestly, we could thank Willem Dafoe for so many things. He truly
Exactly.
is.
I thank him for The Lighthouse.
I just watched him in Saturday Night, which is it's a great film. It's Jason Reitman.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
basic.
I want to watch that when it comes on streaming.
Oh, it's on Netflix right now.
Oh, cool. Perfect
Yeah.
then.
So for those who don't know, sidebar, it is a movie set about the 90 minutes prior to the airing of the first episode of Saturday Night Live, and all the literal chaos that went going on that they had to get through to get on the air. And it's great. It's great, and it's funny as hell.
Yes.
And Willem Dafoe's in it, so.
So what you're saying is you want
Perfect.
Willem Dafoe in the Sonic show at some point.
I dare I say Willem Dafoe as Mephiles? I mean, I kind of want Lawrence Fishburne, but I would take Willem Dafoe in a heartbeat.
Okay. Well, I'm
Okay.
just trying to tie it back to Sonic here because this is a
I
show
know,
about Sonic. So.
I know.
Yeah, sorry for the distraction. I just wanted to know if it
Oh,
was
our
available.
listeners know we digress all the time. It's part of the show.
Sonic host coast to coast. We give you movie recommendations that have nothing to do with Sonic. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, I kind of want to ask you some questions here. So,
Fire away.
why don't I just do this? I mean, what would you? So your favorite ships are Sonelli and which else? Is this do you have
I have
list?
a lot of. I didn't know we were gonna spitball. We can go with. I think Mozilla can talk about his favorite ships or ship. I mean, he said his favorite ship already, but do you have any more?
Yeah. I would say I also ship Shadouge, Shadow and Rouge. They're pretty great. What else is there? I don't necessarily want to put them on the same level as those two, but Sharded Nicole, Shard Cole is always a blessing.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Bunny and Antoine, I think probably it's always funny, you have that secondary ship in the fandom that no one really talks shit about because it's everyone loves it. That's kind of Bunny Antoine.
That is true.
I don't really do much ships for Tails because Tails seems to get a new girlfriend every
Every canon.
How many has he had?
Well, he had one what? He had one in Archie. Well, kinda. He just had a crush on one.
There was Barb, and then there was Fiona, and then there was
No, it was Barb hit on him, if I recall correctly.
And Fiona, he had a crush on her
because he had a crush on her robot, which was a robot. And then, of course,
the real thing eventually
just wasn't quite that into him. And then let's see. Then we had
Cosmo.
Obviously, Cosmo. I have a fun story. So, do you guys remember in the late 80s, early 90s, all those kind of Hanna-Barbera Yogi Bear movies that kind of put out straight to TV specials?
Yes, I do.
There is one where Boo Boo dates a space bear shows up in Jellystone Park, and I swear to God, I think the whole plot of that whole movie is basically the whole Tails Cosmo dynamic because she has to leave and he's all sad. And now that I think about it, Cindy Bear reminds me of Amy a lot. Huh, it's funny. But I actually for Tails, I liked Zoe from Sonic X because she seemed just kind of normal. She's like, yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
yeah.
she was definitely just there as the joke. If
Yeah,
that
it's
makes
just kind of
sense.
like
To
she's like,
serve the story, the plot of that episode.
yeah, she actually had a couple other cameos.
I was gonna say that too. She did come back, so they didn't completely forgot about her.
There was one
Hmm.
episode where like they were climbing a mountain and Tails was kind of writing like the dear mother or dear like beloved letter of like it's day 3 of our journey. It's gotten so cold. I'm tempted to start wearing pants because
Yes.
it's funny. So it's all funny and it's all
I
pretty.
remember I was going to. I wrote the story, but I didn't actually went through with it. Not for anything. It's just that life happened, and I kind of dropped a lot of comics. But I actually did I wrote and did a cover of Sonic Boom. Like I was gonna do a Sonic Boom inspired comic with Tails, and Zoe's cousin was Fiona Fox in that world.
I've seen that
Who,
idea a few players,
yeah,
and that's actually really great. I kind of like the idea of like Zoe and Fiona just kind of having beef,
yes,
cross interdimensional beef. Let's
and her life is to make Tails' life miserable. But yeah,
across the multiverse,
across
multiversal
the
beef.
yes.
What else was there? Though this is actually kind of one of my WTF. Like, it sounds like a crack ship until you realize that it's actually canon in the Archieverse timelines of possible futures, and that's Tails Mina. They had 2 kids in
Oh
the
yeah,
Mobius.
Tails Mina. I almost forgot about that.
Well, it's one of those funny things where it's like, again, different writers, because, Ken, I
Mm.
think that was kind of like, oh, I need someone for, Tails. Oh, let's do Mina, even though she's like 5 years older and
And they
had
have
a
no chemistry
there's
whatsoever
they
to
have
speak
no
of.
character history.
I don't
She
even think
had
they
a
really even talk to each other
oh
prior to
yeah,
that.
and it's like, she had a crush on Sonic, and it's like, and that was one of Ken's big things, like, oh, they have to keep, my futures. It's like, no, the franchise is evolving. It's like, and especially
Yeah.
because Mina had got her own boyfriend Ash, who's he was an idiot.
Okay. Spoiler. That is probably the hated ship that I have. Like I don't normally hate ships, but and it's weird to say that because it's like who cares? It's just like a Ash and Mina. At least it gave someone Mina to like, but he just showed up as the most self-insert character I've ever seen in my
Yeah,
entire life on an official comic. More so than Paul in the Spider-Man universe.
yeah, he is the Paul of the Spider. He was Paul before Paul. People who read
Yes.
Spider-Man will understand this,
Yes.
but yeah, that's I would say my controversial ship, because we'll get into it, and this is a ship that I've kind of like tried to like dissect, and I think it was one of those things where it's like, I think some people ship it legitimately, some people ship it ironically, and then others claim to ship it just to be funny, and that's Shadow and
I
Sally.
raise my hand. I ship that unironically.
And it's one of those things where it's like, in my mind, it's like they have literally no interaction save for the timeline that they were married for 25 years that was purely
Hmm.
loveless because Sonic, within 3 minutes of like rescuing, quote, rescuing, defeating Shadow, is pretty much off. He's asking Sally if she wants to have kids, and she's like about right, and they have kids within like a year, less than a year of them being remarried. So it's like clearly there was no
Yeah,
chemistry
it
there.
was. it was well, that future was like
It was
weird
weird.
considering I
Yeah,
was
there
like,
was a lot of
oh yeah, there's a lot of things to dissect, but that's not what this is about. But I would say I actually would I was gonna revisit a comic that I did. I completely redraw it, rewrite it, I should say, because I did draw like the first like 10, less than 10 pages. But I want to rewrite it. But I it was about Shadow and Sally, and
Oh,
how I
do
would
tell.
like to. Yeah, it was a short. I'll put in the server later,
Ooh.
but it was a short. When I say short, I mean I didn't get to finish it, and I was kind of making up as I go. So I kind of want to just restart it. Actually, have a beginning, middle, and end. But it was with Shadow and Sally, and Shadow's basically escorting her like to basically point A to point B. But it's just world hopping, so they just kind of develop a sort of relationship through that. And I'll post it up, those very small pages that I did, and I just dig them. I did a lot of fan art of them at one point. It was like years ago. I just started drawing them together, and their dynamic, which is like really, I put a lot of humor into it, considering Shadow is very can be sometimes stoic, and Sally is just trying to get something out of him. But yeah, that's just me. I get it. I know they never interacted in the comic at all. Like I don't think they shared a line of dialogue. I think,
yeah,
but I like it. I like the idea of it. Not so
like
much than Sonic and Sally. Like I said OTP. I keep using that as a joke, but for real, I do like them more. But I like the idea of it. I'm what they is known as a serial shipper. I have several ships that I really like.
and we all do. My thing
Yeah.
with this is it's like I feel like Shirali was there was a conference of Son Amy and Nuxie fans, and they're having a conference about writing their fanfics, and they're kind of like, well, what do we do with Sally and Shadow? Because it's obviously Son Amy and Nuxie fans, so you can't do Shadow or Son Ally. So like,
Hmm.
it's kind of a pair the spares ship, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it feels like, well, Sonic and Shadow are basically, they're the rivals things,
Yeah.
and it's like, and this is gonna kind of a bad example, but I'm gonna suggest it anyway. It's like, what if one day Bulma divorced Vegeta for Goku? Like, some people would say that's hilarious, and
Some people would say like, well, it's still in character.
still in character, but yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like it feels like a ship that is supposed to like disparage another ship, and I'm not a huge
Yeah.
fan of those kinds of ships. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I kind of see because I've seen so much really funny fan art of like Shadow being Shadow and Sally almost being out of character in an attempt to like seduce him because she's never really
That is
been much of
basically what I did, but it was a little bit more subtle.
yeah and,
than
like
I did.
this is
You
like
had to break some rules, some character traits in order to make it work. But just make it for me, it was like having a balance of making it still believable. Like this is still Sally would say or do this for like a split second or so. But go ahead.
I mean that's kind of me. We want to get into crack ships. I've thought about some random funny ones like Mina Manic from Sonic Underground. I feel like they would have like vibes.
I think that's actually pretty cool. I never thought about that because especially if you involve music. Like I think Manic. Sorry, I haven't watched Sonic Underground in Dog's Age,
Neither
but
have I.
with the drums.
Um, I think my favorite crack ship though is from Archie, and this is I lay this square on the feet of Mr. Ian Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
Omega and Blaze in Sonic Universe,
Yes, I can't
where
believe I forgot to write that down. I wrote down a bunch of ships right now, but I didn't put that there.
Omega just like falling in love with Blaze's fire abilities and just getting all embarrassed. It's like you burn things really nice. We should burn things together. It's so left field. It's so hilarious, and it's
It
just
really
like
is. It's like I can see it though. I can see it. Her destructive, ultimate. power and his like, oh, that is unironically hot to my circuits.
and it also works because now mind you, Omega across any incarnation is the best character of all time,
Yes, he
but
is.
his Archie counterpart had more personality than even he normally has, and he's got a big personality to begin with. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, his origin story, if we ever get into that, and Archie was actually utterly brilliant. One of, I think, Ian's best solo story issues. But
True. Was that in universe or was that in the main?
that was in universe. That was universe. That was
Yeah.
in the opening universe arc because they kind of did a they did a kind of a Team Dark origin, you know,
Yeah, now I
story arc.
remember. I was just kind of like, was that in the main or? But now you said it like, yeah, it was in the universe.
No, it was in universe. But that was great. I'm sure we'll bring up some other ships as we go on, and I've
Hmm.
talked a lot. Radrey, you haven't talked in a bit.
Yeah, I'm curious about your favorite ships and non-ships.
Well, actually, no. I was gonna put a little pin in some of the stuff you were talking about the Shadali thing, and I guess like joke ships because I have a lot of those out there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
If you like them, you like them.
What can I say about shipping? I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it's one of those things where it's what fans really want, but Sega doesn't want to give it to them. And this is mostly a
Which I
lot.
am perfect. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You're
I didn't mean
perfectly
to
what?
interrupt.
No, please, please.
I am perfect. It's weird. I don't want to say it's a hot take. I don't think it is.
It's a
But
cold take.
I'm kind of glad they don't. I don't mind them teasing, having fun, but never officially saying anything. It's like, yeah, do that.
Oh, I have another ship I wanted to talk about that is just kind of like bizarre out there, kind of just hilarious in concept.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Breezy putting the moves on Neo Metal Sonic in the Champions arc of the reboot is just hilarious on so many
Oh
levels.
my gosh. I remember all the theories of like maybe Breeze is like a robot too, just like in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and she has the hots for metal because of that. Yeah, it was.
I've seen some
I just like to think that
hilarious.
she's a freak. Go ahead.
Yeah, again, it's just kind of one of those funny like character things. Like I've seen these amazing, hilarious fan arcs where she's like she licks, licks Neo. Neo's like, "What are you doing?" And then I make the joke of someone keep her away from Jules or Bernadette's gonna like shank a bitch. But yeah, that's just kind of another funny ship. So sorry about that, Radria. I just had to.
Yeah, sorry for
No, it's
interrupting. Go
fine.
ahead.
It's fine. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to interject. We're here to, you know, share the thoughts that come into our heads. At the time of when it's
Mm-hmm.
important. No, because I mean, yeah, it's one of. I guess like we were saying that some people are fine with there being no ships in Sonic. Some people want them. Because I know a lot of people in the fandom, a lot of them. It's interesting. It's always really interesting talking to Sonic fans. Because that's one of the reasons why I started that show, Sonic Historian, which has been on the back burner for way too long. Which I hopefully will, pull back up and reheat and throw back out there into the internet ether for everybody to enjoy. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, some people are interested in collecting Sonic merch. Some people are interested in like particular ships. Some people, they have their OTPs, as you said, and some ships are very controversial. In terms of like what you were talking about earlier, Malzilla, about the whole Shadali thing. I mean, I guess I could interject a little bit. Like I've told you before, like in conversations we've had, about what it is that I like about this ship is that it reminds me of a friend of mine who she's very like very, very tomboy. She was very like, she was kind of aggressive. She was always kind of like outgoing. And she was, I guess you could describe her as being very Sally, right? She was very Sally. And the guy she was with, this guy was very Shadow because he was this Japanese man he went by, I know, can't if you held a gun in my head, I would not be able to tell you what his name was because I don't remember. But he went under the nickname Marley, and this guy was so stoic. He was, because I don't know if you've ever like had interactions with people in Japan, but some Japanese men, I mean, no disrespect to them, I'm just saying that a lot of the times they can be very stoic, they can be very serious, they can be very shadow. It's very much that. So it's like when I see people shipping shit out in this manner, I totally get that, because based upon what we've seen, in Archie and I guess just Archie. No, I guess also Sadam. You get kind of a feel with like what kind of a character Sally is and how she would play off other characters in the series. And I mean, I'll go out and say that like a lot of these, like their ships, that a lot of them are just out there that are just I guess for lack of a better word, they're just basically headcanon, they're fanfics until Sega decides, what are we going to do with this pairing? Should we actually, show, more people about how are these ships important to other people? Like I started off this episode with talking about how the most important one is Sonami, because, the brand is called Sonic, right? And so who is Sonic with at the time? And, which is really funny because one of the things is, my girlfriend, she's not really like, she's not really a Sonic fan. She's not really into all this, nonsense that they do with all this stuff. So she doesn't really have much of an understanding of the difference in like the timeline of like who Amy Rose is and who Sally is, right? And, if you know that, like particularly fascinating is I love seeing Japanese people go into, finding Archie Sonic and just finding Sally, and they're like, who is this? Like, is this like, because a lot of the time there's so many comics, right? And the thing with comics is you don't know where to start a lot of the time, especially if it's like an ongoing comic. So, and then the way the comics are set up, it's like one of these things where it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll start issue 259 because it's the one that's in my hands, or it's the most current one, or whatever. And so I can only imagine being back in the early 2000s or, 2010s, because when the comic was still in publication, and you're like, who is this character? Like, is this Sonic's side girl? Like, who is this? Right?
Yeah, why is she macking on him half the time?
Yeah,
Why
right?
do they have a statue in Australia?
Why do they have a what?
The statue, the Sega World.
Oh, right. Well, that's the funny thing about the internet, right? It's like everybody remembers what they see, but they don't actually remember any of the facts. I mean, I'm guilty of this too, mind you. So where it's like because everybody pretends like they all own something when they just see an image. Like this is my little digression here. So I actually kind of helped like put into the internet ether, the Shogakukan Sonic manga back when that came out. And like I tried to like find older issues and like scan them and then put them on the internet. And of course, I'm not looking for notoriety. I'm not looking for credit or anything. It's just I just find it so interesting about how which images become talking points and which ones don't, right? Like whenever you look on the internet, whether it's like 4chan or Twitter or anything where like there's fan discourse, it's always interesting to see where is it that, you see these images. So based upon like how the fans, so going back to like the whole shipping thing, it's all based upon how fans view this. And then also, it also depends on like, what is the ships that are going to become official, quote unquote. So I started out with Sonami. I'm going to dive into this. Sonami is one of these things where, obviously it's going to be the thing they're going to push for Sonic 4. I mean, spoilers if you haven't watched Sonic 3. She appears at the end of Sonic 3. But we
talked about that at nauseum in our review of
Sonic
and
3. No way the internet has not spoiled that for you yet.
We
Yeah,
talked
right.
about it for 3 hours. If you haven't listened, what you should. You should
Yeah,
go
what are you
listen to it, right?
doing? Why are you listening to this?
Yeah, no. Why are you listening to this? Because you want to hear the contentious opinions. That's why. And you want to clip us out of context, and throw it somewhere so we can,
Get canceled.
not cancel. I mean, well, actually, no. I hate my job. They should cancel me. Find a way to cancel me, please.
Cancel me. There are those who've tried, I guess.
I'm not. I don't know. I guess I have to have some sort of opinion that riles people up. That people are so.
Just draw something people don't like. I like Sonic and Sally. There you go.
Yes. Yeah. Because
How
remember,
dare she?
remember, children. What is the truth doesn't matter anymore. It's all about what team you're on and what vibe you have. Remember.
Vibe check.
That got dark. Okay, let's pivot. Okay. So, okay. Best ships.
On Amy.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I was talking about Sonami. This is something I wanted to talk about. This is actually something I want to talk about with both of you.
Sure.
We did not get a chance to talk about this in the three. You'd think we would in 3 hours, but I guess there was a lot of people in the room. There was me, there was John, there was you, Chauvel, and then there was Malzilla. But I get the impression. Yeah, well, hopefully you're listening. If you've made it this far, thank you. First of all, you should subscribe if you're not at this point, or join the Discord, or all those great things.
And I was saying hi to Dobbs because I'm assuming he's out there in the audience, and we look forward to having you come back on the show.
Yes, it was a good time. No, the question I was going to ask you is, how far do you think Sega's going to go with Sonami for this fourth movie?
I think it's gonna be a cute. That's the weird thing. I first I thought it'll be cute, almost Sonic Boom like. The crush, the liking is there, but they're not gonna officially be together because they're both kind of sometimes they could be awkward next to each other, but in the end they're like, yeah, we know you like each other, but you're not gonna say it. Then I saw someone did a when I say fan animation, I mean a 3D render of that scene with Amy. You probably have seen it, where she sees Sonic and she starts gushing over him.
Okay.
And he's just still talking, but it's almost like you see it through Amy vision, just flowers around him. She's totally head over heels, and he's just okay. And I'm thinking okay, maybe they will do that route where she's trying to play it cool, but she totally likes him. And I think that's my opinion. I think that's where we're gonna go. But Sonic is still the free spirit because Sega mandates.
Well, it's interesting because I don't think I've actually seen that one, by the way, so that would be new to me.
Oh, I'll link it later. It's actually really, really funny, and it's they take the scene where Shadow comes in and say you're a colorful bunch, but it's Amy. She shows up and she before she even finishes her sentence, she's just looking at Sonic, and she has Amy visions. It turns all pink, and she's like, "Wow, he's so cute." I mean. And she's trying to stay professional, not professional, but trying to keep her composure. It's very cute.
See, I've seen a bunch of fan arts of the scene. They're all pretty hilarious. I'm not a big Son Amy shipper. I did enjoy Boom Son Amy, but movie Son Amy, because let's go on the limb, that's probably what they're gonna go for. I saw someone report that Sonic Movie 4 is going to be a romantic comedy between the four.
So they might do a Boom thing.
But the person who reported that was not a super reliable source.
Oh, okay.
So I think a lot of people kind of took it as gospel when, again, the movie's in production, but let's be honest, it's really early in production.
Yeah, it's too early. Lots of changes can be made. I bet they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with Amy.
Yeah, exactly. So that being said, I've seen people theorize that this time, for a lack of a better word, Sonic should simp for Amy, and it's just I mean,
that's not gonna happen. I don't think that's gonna happen.
I think it's too.
They're not gonna do the switcheroo. All right.
Nah. But at the same time, is
switcheroos.
Paramount. Paramount seems to have enough clout these days that they
Yeah.
can probably, because again, business wise, Sega owns the license,
Yes.
and all these movies are joint ventures. So
I think
the
unlike the comics and the games, I don't know how much Sega has in terms of say when it comes to the movies, because that's a completely different beast, and I think they're probably more hands off than they are with the comics.
probably, because I think from what I've read about some of those early designs from Sonic 1,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think you are, but at the same time, I think they've also kind of tweaked their, I think they've become a little bit more um
Involved.
involved, and I think, but at the same time, is I think when the push comes to shove, Paramount has, Radrey, you and I have talked about, they have the track record to kind of say, hey, we're this successful movie company. We revitalized your franchise.
Your brand,
Trust,
yeah.
yeah, your brand. I mean, no one is really benefiting from
So they
the
come in
movie
there and they're like,
success.
"You get Wade, and you get the backstory for Wade, and if you don't like it, too bad." That sort of
I
I
thing.
mean,
feel like that's it.
Okay.
I don't think they're as that so upfront, but I think it really is like it's more like, all right, they know what they're doing. This is a movie business. We mostly handle the games.
and they
They're
handle it poorly.
making yeah, they're making money for us. Let this be hands off. Let them just do what they
It's
need to
free
do. Like,
marketing.
if they have something that they want to change, I bet you there's like they'll still say, nah, we're still doing it our way.
But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what they do with movie Amy and movie Son Amy, because there's so many theories. Is like, is Amy from the future? Is she from the past? Like,
Hmm.
there's so there's obviously going to be time travel in this movie, because again,
Yeah.
it's clearly they're going to pull a chunk from Sonic CD and probably a chunk from
Oh,
Sonic
future
Heroes
past
as well.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah, you know the good future, the bad future. It'll be interesting to see how they pull that off. But
Hmm.
I'm interested to see how they do that. And again, not a huge Sonic fan. I
No,
get it,
it's
but
I don't even hate them. I actually think it's like it could be cute sometimes.
like I
And
enjoyed
I
it in
don't like I
Boom
said,
because
I
it was
like
subtle.
Sonic Boom Amy. Sonic Boom Amy was, to me, it was really funny. I like their dynamic in there too. Like they clearly like each other, but they're both playing it cool, and I like that. I thought that was really cute.
Then
Not
it was
more than
really
cute. I thought it was really interesting.
it was an interesting dynamic because it's kind of like Amy was the girl, and she was just kind of like, oh my god, I'm surrounded by idiots, because that's kind of what Sonic Boom was. So
Yeah.
we kind of got to see a little bit more of her personality in relation to, but at the same time, like there were points where like clearly, she's still Amy. Like, it was the episode where Sonic gets a job as a delivery boy for Med Burgers because they'll pay him in chili dogs if he can deliver these orders in like 3 minutes or less, which of course he can because he's Sonic. And
Hmm.
like she orders, a delivery and sets up like candlelit dinner in her apartment. It's like, oh, look at this, a candlelit dinner. You have some time, right? Right? He's like, nah, Amy gotta go. She's like, damn it.
Yeah,
Almost
those
had her.
moments those were really cute. I keep
Yeah,
saying cute, but that was funny. And I liked it a lot. Sonic X Amy, I think, was like me not really liking Amy. I never hated her, but I did not like that interpretation of her because I found her a little bit irritating.
yeah. And then another great boom Amy was they're talking to like the robots, and she mentions like, oh, remember, we're going to the farmer's market, blah blah blah. He's like, Sonic's trying to play it cool, and the robot's like, oh, looks like she wears the pants on the relationship. And it's like, no one wears pants at all. Just again, the fact that they don't wear pants joke. It was great,
Yeah.
but I think they've been doing a good job with it in IDW. I think
Yeah, IDW for some reason there's been a there was a drought. And when I say drought, I don't mean in story wise. I mean like in Sun Amy moments. You know what I mean?
I don't
I
feel
couldn't help
that.
but notice at first there was like before this this arc. I felt it. Not saying it was maybe it was all in my head, but I was like,
I think it
huh,
was.
that's Sun Amy. Like there's cute moments, but there's not like moments of her really showing expression that like I really like this guy. They felt more like friends, which they are. To be fair, they are. But but recently, like in that recent arc where she broke the window to help him out, she's like, "I'll save you, Sonic," and she hugs him. Was like,
That
okay, now that's what I remember.
there was another one earlier, and this is where I would disagree with that.
Well,
You
you're
know, I
more than
think
welcome to, because
yeah,
my memory's always fuzzy on that comic. Go ahead.
it was might slightly before issue 50 and blah blah blah, where it was like Sonic has shown up at Restoration HQ, and next thing you
Mm-hmm.
know, saying Amy's just like Sonic, and just very overly animated face. It was really funny, but Sonic's kind of like, how does she know? How does she find me at times? It's like she's got like a Sonic radar. But they have some good moments. They had some great moments, like at issue 2 that started off. Um,
Yeah.
Amy's in IDW a lot, so that's why
Yeah.
I'm not like if there is a Son Amy drought, I don't see it because she's in it a lot.
Oh, when I
But
say like Sun Amy, I don't mean like a absence of Amy, just like
oh,
an absence of those, like the moment you just explained where she's like Sonic. Then again, once I say it out loud, I realize that would have gotten grading pretty quickly. She's always like that.
like
Um,
they
yeah,
have their fair share of moments. Like I
absolutely.
remember like when they went they were doing the chow races where Sonic and Shadow are trying to stop the avalanche, and it seems like, oh, Amy's like searching for him. She's like, and Rouge is like, what are you doing? She's like, if you're looking for hedgehogs, you gotta put your ear to the ground. And next thing you know, you see them spin dash out of the snow, and then
Yeah,
she
that was
glomps him.
actually
Yeah,
really cute.
it was a funny, and she made a funny face too. So,
Yes.
like I said, Evan does a great work with Amy. Um, since we're talking about IDW and Amy, I did love when Sonic showed up and he sees Amy and Surge having like food,
Mm-hmm.
because it's been such a and Surge has been a great character to just toss in to all the shipping arguments now, because
Yeah.
like
There's
I'll
no
look at
escape.
Sauners is one of my other guilty crack ships. I've seen just some really funny edits, some really funny like just because of her personality, and then you see the really funny things of like it's her show. I'm like, I'm here to steal your girl, and it
Because
talks like,
I'm not a big Surge Sonic fan. Maybe because I'm not crazy for Surge as a character,
yes,
but the idea of her, I'm here to steal your girl. I kind of I don't know if you're familiar with the meme, but it's a it's a steal your girl meme, made by Erica Moen, an artist. But it's like it's a character's talking about being a cuck, and another character says, "Shut up! I want to steal your girl now." And that's what I see with Surge and Amy, and Surge saying that to Sonic. I'm sorry to bring up that ancient meme, but I can't help but think about that when I think of Surge and Amy.
fun. It's no problem. It made me laugh.
It's always good to bring up
I
old
should
memes.
redraw it with those guys. Actually, go ahead.
No, I was going to interject a little bit here about my thoughts about the whole, the way maybe Sega's going to go with the whole Son Amy thing for,
Oh, go for it.
I guess not just Sega, I guess that's mostly Paramount, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like what's going to probably see. My guess, based upon what I'm seeing, the visual storytelling, what's particularly interesting for me, after seeing actually when I first saw the image, It was not in the movie theater. It was like, I don't know, I think it was Facebook. I forgot where it was I saw it. But obviously, somebody just had to up an image of, the post-credits scene. And
oh my god!
So
They
my
wait
first,
a day.
yeah, well, I don't know. They want the notoriety, or they want to gush about it or something. I get it. This is the internet. This is 2025. This is the world we live in. Anyway, based upon what I saw with this image, is they've given, because obviously, like what we saw with the Super Mario Brothers movie, they couldn't have Princess Peach being in some being a damsel in distress like she was in like the first Mario game. That's just they can't have that anymore.
You think they're gonna Garboss Amy?
Of course.
Oh, absolutely, 110%.
Not in a good way.
Well, I mean, this
Maybe
is my theory.
I have hope. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I have a theory based upon what I've seen. Because one thing that's been particularly interesting about being in this fandom is like seeing things like seeing Amy doing the whole tarot card thing, and then seeing Knuckles eating like grapes, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm a Sonic fan, and I have no memory of any of this. Like, when was this established?
Gosh, I thought I was losing my mind. The card thing is like, what was that in Sonic Shuffle or something?
Right. Well,
Like it's one of those things. Like, why is this a thing for Amy? Why are they pushing this so hard? She has a giant hammer. She doesn't need all this extra stuff.
Obscure data cards.
Well, yeah, no, because it was, this is the funny thing. This is the funny thing about being in this fandom. And, like, I don't know. Like, this is one of the reasons why I stopped, like, doing research for, like, the Sonic manga. Because, like, I thought, man, as soon as this touches the internet, I'm going to be famous, or not famous. People are going to be, like, all over this. They're going to dive into this. They're going to, like, like how they do with Archie, like go through, not just Archie, IDW, go through every panel, look at every tiny little scene, they're going to translate everything. You know what I got? I got crickets with that. So, I mean, what's interesting is the picture that ended up going viral that I took. I'm like, why does that one go viral? Obviously, death of the author, sure. It's like a picture of like, the main cast of the Shogakukan. You've probably seen it if you're a big Sonic fan. The Shogakukan characters like Tanya, Brenda, what is it? The Veruca family, the Lizard family, Vector, and all those. That was the one that people focused on. And I can always tell if it's my image because, like, in the back of it, there's this clear file that you can get in Japan, and it's shot at this angle to where you can see, like, the light, hitting the image, and everybody keeps resharing that one poorly,
You just keep
picture.
resharing it, so it gets kind of rastered. Like it just gets really badly, the blurred and everything like that. Just low quality each and every time it's shared.
Yeah, for some reason that one always keeps coming up. Right. And so how this is relevant to like the Sonami things, like it's always one of these things where it's like, I always get this impression that like whenever you upload something or you put something out there, you never know what's going to catch on with people, what people are going to talk about. Example, like, for example, like I always hear this thing like, because, I write tweets for Rally for Sally all the time. And one of the choices for this month, February, was going to be that she was going to be Chef Sally, right? And so I guess it was like later in Archie, it's like established that she's like a really bad cook or something. And
yeah, based on a
piece of dialogue, right?
A piece of dialogue.
Yes.
And one cover, which they never got around to actually publish.
Okay.
Because it was canceled.
Yeah, so I mean they never really established this, but it's like and I'm like because I came into this really late. Because I didn't read all still haven't read what's the Sally Cole story? What's it called? Spark of Life.
Oh.
I haven't read it. So I sort of like, I don't really get the ship. I'm not really like a big fan of it because
You
this
know
is
what? When
such
I
a
first read that, I didn't connect it that there was supposed to be like that's supposed to be a love, like I thought it was like friendship like story. You know what I mean?
okay.
Like, oh, it's like their bond is even stronger now. Like, you get a backstory, whatever. And then when Ian said like, oh no, it was meant to be read as like more romantic, more like a couple thing. I was like, oh, I must be really fucking blind because I didn't see that. I thought it was a really nice story between Nicole and Sally. But yeah,
Are we talking about Shard Cole now? Because
no,
No,
not
no, no,
Shard
no.
Cole. It's more
Sally
like
Cole.
Sally Cole.
Spark
Sally
of
Cole.
Life.
Yeah, I was gonna say because if we want to talk about Sally Cole, I have some thoughts too.
Very
No, well, that's
positive.
I'll tell you too. This is one of the reasons why I had to stop listening to the Bumblecast. I had to like stop, because there'd be certain times I'm like, I don't know, like if you ever watched like television, like it's particularly like Fox News, right? Like they had like the
Not to watch it, honestly.
not to get too political here, but like they had like what's his face? What's that guy's name before they fired him? He has like one
Yeah.
face. Let's
Tucker
say
Call?
Tucker
No.
Carlson, that guy. They
Okay,
had like a
yeah.
Tucker reaction in the bottom right corner, right? Of like the way he reacts to, I don't know, leftist news or whatever, right? And so it sort of feels like that for me when like, listening to the Bumblecast. It's one of these where it's like I'm getting the opinion of like the way the author wrote it, and I get it. There's death of the author, right? I get it. I'm allowed to like think my own feelings, but like when I hear like certain things, like oh no, Sonic's going to be reduced to status quo every time. I'm like, I didn't want to know this. I did not need to know this. I want to enjoy it the way I want to enjoy it, right? So,
Yeah.
but anyway, Malzilla, you wanted to sound off on Sally Cole for a minute.
I mean, if we're kind of talking about it, I'm fine with it. I mean, like I see where some of the hardcore fans really do dig it, especially at a time when there wasn't a whole lot of, LGBT representation in comics.
Mm-hmm.
So, and especially media at that time, this was pre-Korosami or right around Korosami being a
What's
thing.
This
I don't
was
know.
right
What's
around. I think
Korosami?
it was close. Oh,
I,
Korra and Asami from The Legend of Korra,
Oh,
from the last Airbender
it
series.
was one of those funny things where it's like they're the two main females of the show. They both date the same guy like over the first two seasons, but everyone jokes that they would be better off dating one another. And then like in season 3 and season 4, by the end of season 4, they're actually dating. It's just kind of one
Yeah,
of those.
it was.
It's
It
like,
was. I know it was very quick, and I have to admit, kind of forced. But I really like that couple. I really like
well, they were fun. They
They
were
were
fun.
fun. Yeah.
And like
I
they
say
had
forced in a way that not forced like they were forced to be together, more like you guys needed a season to expand that relationship or something. I mean, I'm glad it's there, but it was a little too rushed for my taste, but I still love those two together.
I know they've done a lot of those in the graphic novels, but going back to
Yeah.
Sally Cole, it's interesting because like in the reboot continuity, it does make a lot of more sense in the. But I know a lot of people, like a lot of Cycle fans that I've spoken to, just not all of them. They do kind of like, well, go back to the pre-boot. There were all these moments there. I'm like, they were, but they were also coming from a weird place because the whole reason Nicole wanted a human body was when she swapped bodies with Sally, and she got to experience emotion, and she also experienced Sally's emotion for Sonic, and it kind of she's like, oh my god, this all these new sensations of admiration and blah blah blah, and then she kind of fizzles out, and they swap bodies. They go back to the status quo. But it's just
Hmm.
kind of one of those things. A lot of people love to reference the when Sally first sees her holo farm and they're out by the lake and it's very drawn, very shoujo and all that fun stuff. It's like, I get it. But, it's at the same time. And this is, hopefully people aren't taking this as like I'm a hater or anything. But at the same time, a
Hmm.
lot of people talk about, you know, do we want ships? Do we don't want ships? And again, this is a
Man, I'm glad I
you
don't
know,
work at Sega. This sounds hard. This sounds difficult.
yeah, it's like, and some of these questions where it's like, yeah, you could, but at the same time, it's like, do we want to do the plot of her in a Sonic comic? Is that the time and the place for it? And sure, you could go for it, but at the same time, you could also say, we might like, I thought her was a fun movie with, Scarlett Johansson, Joaquin Phoenix, but not something I'd expect to see in a Sonic comic. But,
Yeah.
that's just me. And again, I get it, and I think, it definitely kind of set the tone for what would be Wispangle, kind of the Sally
Yeah.
Cole
We need to
crawl.
get to that.
We'll get to Wispangle, I'm sure, eventually. But any more thoughts, Radrey? I'm sorry I took over your thoughts.
No, I mean, well, I mean, well, this is post. I mean, I guess I've digressed a little bit. I mean, I was gonna go back to the whole like, Sonic and Amy, and based on the movie, and I was talking about how, certain death of the author moments where you're trying to enjoy the piece of media, but then the way you're viewing it, and then you find the way other people watch the same piece of media, they get something out of it completely different, right? I guess Sally Acorn's a good example of this, where it's like the reason I like Sally Acorn is completely different than the way a lot of other people, like what they get out of it. Like I was talking to Asul about some of this, and it's like the reason why he likes Sally is completely different from me. So, based on what I'm saying here, going back to why Amy is really interested in tarot cards, or why Knuckles really likes grapes, it's a little off-putting. It's a little weird to like being being shown this, and the way they show it, it's like this way of like, how do I explain this? It's like it's been happening, like it's always been going on, but you're just not paying attention. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way they sort of
I
like, Chauvel, please.
Oh, I didn't mean I keep interrupting. I
No,
feel
no,
so
no,
bad.
no, no. That's why we're
But
here.
no, it's like that's how it feels. It's like, where is this coming from? Maybe this is how people felt about Sally back in the day, and probably even now. It's like, wait, was this always a thing? Was she always here? That's how I feel about like the grape thing with Knuckles, and the cards with Amy and such. It's just like one of those things where just like I don't know where this is coming from, but okay.
Well, yeah, because the grape thing, I mean, I think both of them are from an instruction manual, if I remember
They're
correctly.
from they're from
It's
the
like when they
game.
called Eggman a feminist, I think.
Yeah, it's like before
Yes.
everything was downloadable, when you
Yes.
actually had to go to a store and you purchased a cartridge or a game disc, they'd have the little instruction manual with the little character bios. It's the big thing where if you bought Sonic CD, they called Amy Sally. It's all all that stuff.
Ah.
It's just it's a little odd to me. Like that's what becomes canon, or that's what becomes the thing that they get known for. It wasn't like the thing that started out as Amy's the tarot card girl, but yes, but going back a little bit, yeah. So it's a little off-putting to like no, they're probably gonna lean into the whole tarot card thing. This is my guess, and they gave her like they gave her like a hood. What do you call that? A cape and a hood?
A Jedi robe.
Yeah, a robe. Thank you. They gave her a robe, and if you played Sonic CD, you'll know that the way Amy's portrayed in Sonic CD is they were trying to like flip the script a little bit. They didn't want to make her the damsel in distress. They wanted to make her the character that hinders your performance in the game for I guess, I don't know, 90s. So that's what they did for Sonic CD. So, I mean, I can't really remember how that game ends, but that's pretty much what happens. Correct me if I'm wrong. And like she gets kidnapped by Metal Sonic as well.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
But obviously we did not see this in the post credits scene, or the mid credits scene, excuse me. uh, during Sonic 3. Instead we see her, destroying all the multiple metal Sonics, and I'm guessing they're trying to establish her character as one of these like, yeah, quote unquote girl boss, and then the way they kind of she reveals herself like through the hood. I get this impression they want to do this, like have this whole story surrounding her, and they're gonna do kind of a like, what's that one ship? The one with One Punch Man, and who's the girl with the green hair? Help me out here.
Oh, Tatsumaki?
Yes, they're gonna do it sort of like that. That's my guess. Is they're gonna have it
The
to where
whole tsundere kind of thing.
maybe. What I'm thinking is Amy's gonna do her own thing, like she just destroys these metal Sonics for some reason, and then that's gonna be like one of these competitions. This way, everybody's happy because they don't really make it. It's like one of these like will they, won't they sort of situations, but they look up to each other. But it's not really quote unquote shipping. But this is my guess. If like Sega gets their way, because I remember for a while there, before Sonic 3 came out, I kept on thinking to myself, Ian and all these other people always complain about writing Shadow and how difficult it is to write him, because everything that all the ideas they get with him, they keep getting nixed by Sega. So, and basically I don't, for myself in particular too, after watching Sonic 3, there was a lot of moments in that movie where I'm like, why don't we get more Shadow lore? I mean, if you go back and listen to the other episode we did, I kept saying that. Like, I understand this is a Jim Carrey vehicle, and, Jim Carrey gets to be Jim Carrey, right? So obviously, Shadow gets the back seat. And I'm not, like, this is one of these things where it's like, I'm pretty sure if I probably read some interviews, they didn't really care too much about, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to go on a limb here. So my guess is the way Sega does things is they have rules, but when other people get the Sonic IP or they acquire it, they're like, okay, well, you have all these rules. Well, I'm just going to do my own thing. And Sega's like, yeah, that's fine. You can do anything you want, right? But, of course, for us as, like, fans, it's sort of like, well, we want to see the Shadow stuff. We want to see the Sonic stuff. And I'm not saying that Paramount or any of these people aren't doing that. They do it here and there, but they're not leaning into it too much, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Budget. Pure budget, I would think.
What do you mean budget?
Like the movie budget. Like, not to make this all about the movie, but again, the Sonic 3 movie only had a budget of about 122, maybe $125 million. And when you think about, like, if you were to condense all, like, the Super Sonic, Super Shadow scenes and, like, them fighting and them fighting in space, it's, like, 3 minutes at most. Like, but at the same time, you figure those 3 minutes cost Paramount probably millions of dollars of their budgets to animate. So it's one of those funny things where I think everything I know about Jeff Fowler and everything I've read, and obviously his history with Shadow, he probably would have loved to thrown as much as possible. It's just they had only X amount of money to pay their animators, so they had to, it's cheaper to film Jim Carrey do a scene twice as Gerald.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Just production cost budget. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
So, Malzilla, was there something else you wanted to say about the whole Sonic and Metal Amy thing? Seemed like you were trying to interject for a moment there.
I think he's trying to say he ships the two.
Nah, I'm not really a Metal Amy fan.
That is a ship, yes.
That is a ship.
That is a ship.
I don't get it, but sure, whatever. I honestly, if I was going to interject, I've completely forgotten what my point was going to be. But I would say if we're kind of still in kind of the movie Amy, yeah, I mean, I hope they don't fully girl boss her. I mean, again, I liked Peach in the Super Mario Brothers movie, but at the same time,
too girl bossy for me. I kind of like. He still have a sweet ditzy Peach and still be cool.
I think we can still have kind of a overly energetic Amy,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it's just I think it's a little too early to figure out what's going to happen because there's so much context we have to have
Fair enough.
regarding of the movie. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
We talked a lot about ships we like or indifferent to a little bit. What about the ones that we just plain just don't like?
The gross ones.
It could be
uh,
gross. It could be just like I just don't like these characters.
90% of Jeffrey St. John ships. Oh,
Ooh.
burn.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I remember, like, when I was a kid and I read those Sonic Archie books, right? And that one issue with, like, Sonic and, like, Jeffrey in the cover where they're both, like, I don't know, like, they're, like, holding hand in hand, or, like, it's trying to show it's, like, they're having a power struggle. Do you know what issue I'm talking about?
Yes.
Which
That one.
one?
It's, like, the front cover. It's, like, issue
It's like the front cover. They're like,
36 or
they're
something.
yeah, something early like that early on.
I remember thinking, oh, this is kind of cool. I mean, there's some conflict, right, between the skunk character, right? And, going back and rereading it and, like, as an adult and going through this, and I'm like, I don't like this character. I mean, this is like, I don't want to say it's a self-insert, but I'm going to say it's a self-insert by
46.
46. Thank you.
46. Yeah, I was flipping through them. Yeah, it's, they're kind of like grappling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, going back, and because I think I've told you, Malzilla, I did not buy the Sally miniseries when that was out, because the way it was marketed was like, oh no, this is stuff for girls. Like, this isn't stuff for, like, a boy to buy, right? You're gonna look out of place, reading this, right? Because it's funny. It's like, because when I read this, and if we ever do a review, it's a pretty funny 3 series, because the same thing happens in each 3 comics. And
Like it's one of those things where, like, I know we've talked about it, where it's like, I hate to say it, but some of Ken's original ideas for it were like 5 times better, and I kind of wish he got to tell like one of the things I've always kind of wanted to do, and kind of an experimental episode, if you will. For speaking of which, this is a minor plug for hopefully by the time you're listening to this, my mini episode IDW 76 will be posted. I recorded that a few days ago. I kind of wanted to do like a Sonic Archie what if kind of like little anthology kind of series of like, again, just kind of a what if type story. And like one of the ones I wanted to do, or if I ever got into it, was to do kind of a what if like Ken got to do that original plan where the story was going to be Sally discovering Alicia alive under, Robotropolis leading, evil Robians, and she's been like consumed with grief because like Elias is dead. Like, if you went with that path, how much of what we know to Archie Sonic, especially in the the 3 to 4 or 5 years that followed, would be completely different. So yeah, that was just kind of an idea that I had.
I'm down for listening to that.
Cool.
yeah, we
I
can
like
get
what
into
ifs.
that at
I
some
like
point.
what ifs personally. It can be fun to mess around with.
The other ship I don't really like that I see some people doing is like Elias and Sally. Like, I don't need to see incest. I mean, maybe this is like, I don't know, Game of Thrones or something. I get
Let
that.
me tell you, I've been in enough fandoms for enough long where like nothing phases me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially, after 10 years of watching and reading Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, it's like Targaryen's gonna Targaryen, and Jaime and Cersei are gonna Jaime and Cersei. The most of those jokes I make are between Lee and Daw and Kragok, because I swear, you know, Lee and Daw is Cersei Lannister's Sonic Sona, especially especially book Cersei, and I've made that meme a couple times. And I think Ian even laughed at it one time. He's just like, well, because again, it's almost perfect where Julie Sue is the Tyrion in that scenario because Linda hates her sister for really really dumb reasons.
Hmm.
But yeah, but I get what you're saying. It's yeah, it is what it is.
I guess if they wanted to go that route, I'm like, okay, not something I really want to see, but okay. Those are the only two that I like vehemently I'm against. I don't want to see this, right?
Yeah, we mentioned Ash and Mina already, so I could just put that like aside. It's
Oh,
like, yeah, I don't
okay.
really like this. I'm not like Ash and Mina. It's just like I don't like this couple. That's just so
Was
like
it record producer and singer? You don't like that?
record producer and singer. That they got their own problems there. Like we know how and through
Conflict of
history does not
interest.
really work out.
Isn't that what
But
he is? I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
He was the manager.
Okay,
manager,
manager
you're right. He
and
was the manager.
singer.
Shit,
Yeah.
I'm her man. He just even his design pisses me off.
Is
The
that
whole like
kind
I
of
just came out of Hot Topic.
is it kind of like predatory? Is that why you don't like it, or is it just mostly the design?
No, he's
Just a
just
douche, really, more
yeah,
than anything.
exactly. He looks like he seems like a douchey character. It's like, ugh, this guy again. If like it was Hot Topic get up, his 9-inch nails get up.
Hmm.
There's another. I don't necessarily hate this couple, but I'm not really like I don't care for it, and that's like Shadow and Rogue.
Rouge,
Rouge, sorry, wrong Rogue. Shadow and Rouge. I
Rogue, same.
yeah. I was reading X-Men recently, but Sonic and Rouge. I mean Shadow and Rouge. I'm just not like a big fan of like at all.
Then
Like
you and
I
Why
I
just
is
are
that?
diametrically opposed on that one because I'm a
Opposed.
I'm a big
You
Shadou
got Rogue and you're
Shadousian.
opposed.
I mean I like them as like in Team Dark. I think they work great as a team. I just don't see them like as a pairing personally. Even like I'm just like not caring for that. That's like all the folks I kind of like. Like I said, I don't really have a couple or a pairing that I can say I just really really don't like. That's not I've never been the case for me. But there are like some there are more I'm indifferent to than those I straight up just don't like.
So you don't like it because wait, why? Help me out
Oh,
here.
I forgot. I didn't even mention. I don't like they just don't dynamic wise. I like the flirtatiousness of Rouge but with Knuckles of being
Yeah,
a
that's
hothead
fun. I like
with
that.
Shadow it just feels like it's like you're just here like you're just like she might as well be flirting next to a brick wall. Like you're getting nothing out of this.
Is that sort of why you like Shed Alley better? Shadow and
Yeah.
Sally because like he's so
Yeah.
stoic and
She could probably get a
non-committal.
rise out of him. Yes.
Yeah, no, I wanted to actually talk a little bit about the whole Shit Alley thing. I think the part of what makes this interesting, I find the ship very interesting, but I think it's a little bit toxic. Do you agree?
Shadow and who again?
Sally, Shit Alley.
Shaw's a toxic. How?
Well, because I sort of feel like, because based upon relationships that I've been in, and one of the reasons why I think I prefer Sonic and Sally is because one of the things
Is it
is
because Shadow is so stoic, so standoffish?
yes,
That's like it's like what people used to say about Vegeta and Bulma. Say like, how is that a healthy relationship? He's never like open about his feelings and so on and so forth. And I would just like, yeah, you're right. It would be toxic or just very unbalanced in
Well,
life.
can I talk about the comparison? See, I'll say this for like Vegeta. Both Vegeta and Bulma are very headstrong, and they will vocalize their opinions on things.
Yes.
They feed off one another. I don't see that with Sally and Shadow. I don't.
I guess if I were to compare them to a different couple,
They're
I
they're very analytic. I'll say that.
yeah.
They would probably work together really well on a mission, but at the same time, she'd also say Shadow was probably going to go off and do his own thing anyway. She's like, at least with Sonic, he acknowledges my plans.
That is true. Like that
Yeah,
is true. Like I said, with this couple, it's not like my top. It's not even in my top 3. It's like 4 or something in terms of pairings. I see the flaws. I see the glaring gaps and flaws in it. I just can't help but personally love it myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, I kind of see like Sonali as Sonic and Sally as being kind of the OTP. I mean, for me, because mostly it's just like part of what makes the relationship work is that I mean, like particularly after doing all these Sad Am reviews, is they really communicate. They really like talk about what it is that's what works with them and what doesn't. And I feel like, part of what makes a relationship work or what makes it crumble is, it's always, people always go back to the whole communication issue. Like, that's one of the reasons why it just didn't work out. And of course, sure, you could always argue that the differences are just too strong and that they don't share things between the two of them. That because they have such different, hobbies or interests, it's hard for them to really, relate to one another. I guess that'd be the only like issue I could probably see with Sonali. But
oh yeah, I can totally see it. I can get that, but that'll be a fun thing to explore later, like in my personal head, or not even head, my fan art, fan comps, whatever I'm gonna do. But yeah, that's a fun thing to sort of like play around with. It's probably why it won't even work in the end, but it's fun to think about.
oh right,
When I say
right,
work,
right.
I mean like story wise. It's probably like it was fun. It was fun for them for a while, but it just didn't work out.
Actually, yeah, this kind of brings me into one of the things I don't actually really like about Sonami. Whereas, like, I like watching Sonali a lot because it's sort of like it's these different opinions, this different goals, and it makes them very interesting to watch. I mean, even Ian Flynn has said this is part of what makes Sonic and Sally interesting is that they have both different goals, but they have. I mean, in the end, maybe they have the same one, but because
Got
they're so
Robotnik.
right, and so
it's like what I said earlier. They have a lot of similar goals and values, but they have different modus operandi in doing it. Again, Sally's more analytical, Sonic's more off his cuff, free
right,
spirited. Yeah,
right. And
order and chaos.
one of my one of our mutual friends, Cassie, who's a big Sonami fan. I mean, she probably doesn't like me saying this, and she doesn't like hearing it. But this is one of the reasons why I completely don't really like Sonami. I'm not the biggest fan. Is mostly because I'm sitting here watching this this interaction. I see fan art, I see people enjoying it, and I'm like, why am I supposed to be enjoying this? Like, what am I getting out of this? I mean, I understand like the earlier, iterations of Sonic and Amy were that it was, love addict versus love avoidant. You would have, this, you would have, Amy who is the love addict, and she would
It was the thrill of the chase.
right,
Yeah.
That was
thrill of the
kind of what I
chase.
mentioned.
And one of the things that was always fun about this for me, it's just like it's so satisfying when you finally see Amy get her guy, right? It was so satisfying. But now it seems like they want to delete that whole dynamic. And now I don't know what it is. If you asked me, I could not tell you.
It really is. Like that's what I was saying. Not about mostly about the comic, but Mozilla and I think a little differently on that. But I feel that dynamic. I get it. I do. Times are changing. You can't have Amy just be the the boy crazy. Well, she wasn't boy crazy. She was crazy for one boy, but she didn't have her to be that girl who gushed over one guy. But I felt she was more kind of fun because, like, as much as I didn't like her in Sonic X, she kind of had a balance of both. She was completely and totally capable, but that didn't stop her for crushing and chasing Sonic around. Maybe not to a crazy extent, but she still kind of did in her way. But they just kind of wanted to eliminate that, so it makes it kind of dull.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, tell me
It's
why I should
toothless.
enjoy this. I mean, besides color schemes or Sonic but female, tell me why am I supposed to be enjoying this? And if you can give me a reason, I will be on the same page as you. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
Melzilla, Sonami, sell me on it. Anybody,
You're
someone,
asking.
sell me on
You're
this.
you know,
Yeah, I'm asking a
bring
Sonali
Cassie
guy,
on.
right?
Yeah, bring Cassie on. See
Well,
what
even
she
she's
says.
had some trouble, like even trying to sell me on it. To me, it's just like
Okay.
make something of it. Have some sort of dynamic. Tell me what it like. If you're gonna do the whole like like I was mentioning earlier, the whole One Punch Man thing, where it's just like one character's focused on something else, and the other one they just kind of look up to them. I'm imagining that's what they're gonna go with, but that's my guess. I don't know. So I guess we need to pivot. This is our pivot moment.
Okay.
On my last little bit of shipping stuffs or thingies, we have controversial ships or crack ships. What do we call in this segment? Nazil, help me out. What do we call in this segment? Controversial.
To me, controversial and crack ships are two different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because
Like
for our audience who probably doesn't know, if you've gotten this far and you're like, what the hell's a crack ship? A crack ship is like, help me out if I got this definition wrong, but it's a pairing of two characters that would never happen, that would never go together, or it's so ridiculous or absurd.
And it doesn't make sense.
And it doesn't make any sense, yes.
pretty much.
Okay, so I got it right. Okay, but controversial ones are ones that, have people hawking. It has
Stir a negative emotion. Stir discourse.
Right. So what are yours? Tell me. Unless you have another category.
There's a lot of like obvious ones, but I'm gonna skip those. Like controversial, like whatever you want to say, like toxic, unfair, abusive, blah blah. I'm eliminating those. Crack ships, I'm gonna say. I always find it weird. Damn, I don't even know I don't even know if I have a crack ship that's not like weird or indifferent in that sense. But Monzel, you think of something why I try to think of at least one.
Well, I kind of mentioned Sonerge. I think that's a definition of a crack ship.
Sonic and Surge.
Yeah, and then Blaze Omega, I mentioned them.
That's a great ship though. But yeah, it's still a crack ship.
It's a crack ship, but it's dead. Breezy Neo Metal was kind of, these are just more funny things.
Mm-hmm.
What's other crack ships?
I guess it's so weird. You've seen so many pairings in the Sonic fandom that you don't even know what's cracked anymore.
I guess controversial at the time.
Anyone with Eggman.
No, well, I would say
besides Stone.
Besides Stone, Knuckles Sally for like 10 issues was kind of
that was always weird.
Well, like it was one of those things where it's like they kind of tried to hint that there was something between them, and then, but it was really more they were childhood friends, and they kind of went in that Knuckles did kind of have a thing for her, but obviously he was living by himself because Locke had decided to become, he was a deadbeat dad to begin with. Who nukes who puts the egg in the microwave, right? So he had pretty much left Knuckles to fend for himself. So obviously though, like and so really Sally was one of like the first people he knew, like friends, and I think we've all been in a point where it's like. Sometimes when you make your first friend, especially of the opposite sex, you don't really have a whole lot of, or same sex, and you don't have a whole lot of interactions. You kind of become overly attached, and that's kind of how I saw it. And that's kind of how they played it off because eventually they brought Julie Sue in, and I thought Julie Sue and Knuckles were fine. I know a lot of people complain that they're cousins, but again, it's like. They're so distant that it's not a big deal.
They won't upset the gene pool.
I mean, honestly, I would say, Julie Sue's more genetically related to Knuckles, to Edmund than Knuckles is, because there's been like 17 generations between him and Edmund, and there's only like 3 between Julie Sue and Dimitri. So, and again, the gene pool is not going to be affected, and
Mhm.
and as weird as this sounds coming from an American, there are a lot of other countries where cousins do get married, and that's legal. So it was never really a big thing. And I liked how Julie Sue and Knuckles played off each other. They were a fun action couple. They were always there to throw down.
True.
Speaking of that, I guess I don't know, controversial, but I do think they're kind of funny. But Sonic and Knuckles themselves, Sonux is kind of
I
funny
haven't
because
seen that in a dog's age. Ever since Shadow got introduced,
no,
Knuckles
like
kind of got the boot with the whole
there were some,
boy love couple.
there were some scenes in Frontiers, and I talk about it a little bit in the most recent IDW 2024 annual, and even the Knuckles 30th anniversary, where sometimes you'll just randomly think of Sonic, and the Sonic is winking suggestively at him. he shakes his head, he's like, get out of my brain. But that was kind of funny. I guess this was a controversial at the time again, because I feel like a lot of these ships that are controversial are kind of like products of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sally and Ken, Monkey Khan.
I was gonna mention that. Hey, anyone actually like that couple? I'm having a hard time thinking of one person as a fan, as an Archie fan.
You don't
who
see
thought,
much
like,
fan
yeah,
art
this
of
is
that,
it.
that's for
You know,
sure.
I actually see what I've seen a lot of people like, and again, I think this is, I don't know if it's the same person, but I actually saw on Deviant a lot of Sally and Ken art, and a lot of like the Mobius 20 X, 20X, 20, 30 years X later, whatever, Mobius XYL. I've seen a lot of like edits where instead of Sonic and Sally being king and queen, it's Monkey Khan and, Sally. So, it's got its fans. And, Ian talked about it where it was kind of a case of, it was a relationship that Sally actually got to have some autonomy in, and that she got to choose. But at the same time, there was this issue where she's talking to Bunny about, she's thinking about, or, some feelings she has for Ken. And, Bunny's describing, what Sally looks for. And it's all juxtaposed with, Sonic and Monkey Khan fighting the Iron King. And it's basically saying, yeah, that they share similar traits, but at the same time, it's Sonic. It's always going to be Sonic. And, this is a pairing that basically exists to be a bump in the road. Well, not even a bump in the road, but it's just kind of like it's going to be there for maybe 5-6 issues, and then it's going to go away. Like nothing really, because again, he's over halfway of the world in the Dragon Kingdom. She's obviously in the Kingdom of Acorn, and of course, obviously, she kind of broke it off because she both basically said, I owe it to myself, because it wouldn't be fair to you, and it wouldn't be fair to me, it wouldn't be fair to Sonic if I don't try to like repair. Because again, once she had the whole marriage with Patch annulled in the one episode, in the one issue that it happened in, it was kind of a case of she and Sonic had been kind of slowly flirting with each other. They're kind of back in the will they, won't they. And then obviously they had the whole Iron Dominion thing come up, and she kind of started, smooching Ken. And then she kind of realized, like, nah, I gotta, it's always the case of like, you break up with someone and then you date someone just like them, and you realize the reason why you're dating them is just they remind you of your ex. And it's like I have unsettled feelings I need to go deal with.
Rebound relationship?
Not even a rebound, yeah.
Rebound guy. That was the Monkey Can was. He was the rebound guy.
Yeah. What else other?
While you were talking about Connelly, I went over to Rule 34 to see how many how many pieces of artwork exists, right?
How many did you find?
I found about 5. That's about it. Not much.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I guess it's not the most popular ship in the world. So, I mean, I see a lot more Sally Cole and a lot more Shed Alley than I do. I mean, in terms of like Sally, in terms of who she's paired with, than Mr. Monkey here. So, well, then again, I don't see Monkey Man with many other people either. I guess people don't
Yeah,
really like
he's
Mr.
not
Monkey Man.
really popular. I've seen more Jeffrey St. John Sally art than I did of Monkey Can. I keep saying I want to say I keep messing with the word, but yeah, that's how I feel about him.
Huh? Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
know if we're close to closing out. I did write down some like miscellaneous couples that I liked that I was just gonna like
Yeah,
speed
we've
run.
kind of translating into just kind of we've kind of hit all the major ones. So we're just going to kind of shoot
Yeah,
off random ones because I feel like
yeah.
there's a few more that we need to mention because that are kind of big. So take
hmm
it away.
Well, I was gonna spitball here. There are three. I would be in the wrong if I didn't mention this at all as a favorite, but Shard and Nicole.
Start Cole. I
Absolutely,
love it.
Shard and Nicole. I know we mentioned them briefly, but I cannot stress how much I love these two. I mean, it would be surprising. I did a 15-minute animation about almost about those two. It was about Shard versus Metal, but it did have my favorite segment besides the fight was the animating or reanimating that part in the comic with Shard and Nicole playing chess and they're having that heart to heart moment. And to animate that, I was like, it just cemented how much I really like this two, these two. Next one, this
Well,
one
can I
doesn't get.
chime
No,
in?
go ahead. Sure.
Well, like one of the cool things about Shard, Nicole, because on one hand, I get it when people say it's basically diet Son Alley, because obviously
Mm-hmm.
you have, you know, Nicole who had kind of imprinted a lot of human emotions off of Sally, and versus
Mm-hmm.
Shard who is, he's a metal Sonic, so he's basically that it's in the name right there. It's a lot of his personality, whether he wanted or not, is derived from Sonic. So I get people's criticism, like, oh, it's basically Diet Sonali, and I wouldn't disagree with it. But it's also interesting because again, you have two essentially artificial beings pursuing sentience, I mean, they were both sentient to begin with, but kind of
Mm-hmm.
pursuing like we want to be more than just an AI and a super robot. We want to be like
Yeah.
we want to be part of like everything. We want to be like friends. We want to be. It's kind of seeking humanity, for lack of a better word. You see it like
Yes.
Data in Star Trek Next Generation. You see it's a common like android trope, but they made it work pretty well.
And that's like something I wanted to explore more of in a comic. Hopefully I can get to this year, Flesh and Metal, but we'll see. Um, I was also gonna say to go on, Knuckles and Relic. Do you remember that?
I do
Knuckles and
remember
I
that.
Relic.
know they were just friends.
So
Like even the comic, she kind of stressed that there's nothing going on between them. I like them. I like them a lot more than I thought I would when I first read
so
Relic
it.
the
And
Pika? I'm looking it up right
Relic
now.
yeah,
Pika. So yeah, she debuted in the post boot, and kind of for those who don't
very
remember,
briefly, but she made an impression on me.
Huh.
she was kind of this. She was either working on her doctorate or she just gotten her doctorate from the University of Spagonia, and she had like because the whole story was set basically during Sonic, Archie's attempt at Sonic Unleash. So like
Mm-hmm.
Angel Island was floating, so she kind of paddled over and she wanted just to study Angel Island and all the stuff there, and she kind of Knuckles kind of reluctantly befriended her because, like, obviously Knuckles is a little, he's a little overly trusting, but, as opposed compared to Eggman, Relic's pretty on the up and up. And she had her little Gizoid robot assistant Fix It, who Omega just totally bullied, and it was hilarious.
Yes.
But again, she was kind of a fun where because she mainly showed up in the Shadowfall saga, which had to deal with Eclipse the Darkling trying to steal the Master Emerald. So when Team Dark goes to Angel Island to kind of protect the Master Emerald, Rouge just gives the two of them so much crap, and it is just hilarious.
Yeah, and that was a fun arc. But
It's worth
Relic, even
reading. It's
that
worth
brief
reading, Radrey.
moment.
Okay.
Yes, I would recommend it. I think you'll find it fun. Relic is just that she just left an impression on me, and I don't know why. And I like her dynamic with Knuckles. That I said, you know what? Even though it ended too soon, the post reboot Archie, I say I could see them as a pairing, and I think that's really cute. In my head, I always hear the voice of Jane from Tarzan, Disney's Tarzan.
Yeah, I can see it.
She has that accent and everything.
That
I
British,
kind of hear it.
British explorer type.
Yeah, that's why we kind of hear it. And lastly, I'm just going down. I was doing all the list of the characters we talked about and the characters I didn't get to talk about yet. Oh yeah, this is the last one. I've been crossing out as we go. Um, I know we gave him a lot of shit, but Jeffrey St. John or Joffrey, I don't know which one it is.
It's
Jeffrey St.
Jeffrey.
John. Okay,
Yeah.
good. And Hershey. I
Oh, okay.
like them later on. I know, like, it's just like misery porn, but those two, I think they worked. They were very. I wouldn't say cute. I guess that's not the way I would describe it, but I liked them as a pairing. I wish, I do wish they had more screen time. That's weird to say that for a comic. Pages together, because I think there could have been a fun dynamic between the two of them. They eventually did get together, but we didn't really see them together. She kind of like got killed off screen. Kinda, I put killed in quotations.
Ian
So she.
basically revealed that, again, Roger, you're gonna hate this because the death of the author, but she was undercover in the Dark Legion. Like she actually, like, there's this one Dark Legionnaire when they're doing the whole little story arc with the felines and the wolf pack
Okay.
shenanigans, and like they're fighting over like a emerald or something, and there was this one Dark Legionnaire who, like, Drago, because Drago was he was back, he's working for Eggman again, he's trying to like impress this one Legionnaire, and he gets kind of called off. She's like, you see the Legionnaire underneath her head go, phew, glad that's over. So that was supposed to be Hershey. So Hershey was supposed to be undercover, and that was going to, again, kind of be a kick in the dick to Jeffrey, because, when they go through this whole thing of him being, working for Nagus all along, and when we mean all along, we mean like from day one,
Mhm.
was that, because, when they heard that, Hershey had gone missing or had died, he had kind of been like become very, kind of cynical, and there was that one issue later on where, Silver, and I want to bring Silver up in a little bit because
Does he have any what besides blades?
there was some Silver Whisper, in the very beginning.
Oh, yeah, got it.
I got a whole little spiel I want to go on that one. But it was like Antoine was in a coma. Bunny had left to go get, her, get re-legionized so she could have her, her cybernetics back. It was kind of that, everything's gone to shit. Sonic's feeling like crap, and Jeffrey's not. Is one of the few times where he's not being a dick. Like, he knows, like, everyone's like everything is going to shit, and he kind of makes the comment of like, because he heard that Sally got roboticized. Like, yeah, losing the love of your life does really change, your perspective on things, and that was kind of his, because he thought Hershey was gone, but it's going to be kind of a kick in the dick when he's like, oh no, she's still alive, and he basically betrayed everyone for nothing. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember all of that now. Yeah.
Oh,
I would say, but what I was wanted to do eventually, like I was gonna have one of the animation projects I have planned. It's not basically around those two. It's not. They're just characters in it. but I was gonna rewrite their dynamic a little bit, like almost like Saint John, like Saint John is like mostly he's like in charge of like the guards or whatever, this kingdom of acorn guards or whatever, and Hershey is just like she's also trying to keep professional, but she really likes him, kind of thing. And he's just mostly he just can't see the forest for the trees. He's just mostly very focused on his missions. But yeah, that's what I was thinking of those two. But that was all the pairings I wrote down that I wanted to talk about.
I did want to like kind of we can briefly talk about these. I did kind of mention Silver, and obviously Silver and Blaze is a really popular one amongst the fans. I'd almost just say a little too popular at times because, like I mentioned, because you asked, like, does Silver really have anyone other than Blaze? And it's kind of a yes and no because, like, when Whisper first showed up in her first issue, Silver was simping pretty hard. Like, not necessarily in a romantic sense, but he was like Whisper fan #1, guardian angel. And then, eventually, they had the line, they after the first arc, they had, Tangle and Whisper talk to each other, and then, of course, Wispangle, the fans kind of willed that into being, which, do we have any thoughts on Wispangle? I mean, I'm kind of, I think it's fine. I don't really care
Oh
a whole
gosh, how
lot.
could we not mention them? I just really remembered. Whisper and Tangle, it was like one of those things where you're indifferent to it. Like I like Whisper. I like Tangle. As a couple, I don't know. I was just okay to it. It's like, oh, if you like them, that's fine. And it wasn't until, and I'm not 100% sold, but it wasn't until I reposted it on Blue Sky,
I did
but
see that.
I didn't read Whisper and Tangle. I didn't read it. Not because of anything, I just never got around to it. But Whisper doing her sort of like, hit a sneaky whatever spy
Her
thing I
little
guess she's
sneaky
doing.
sneak.
Yeah, and then Tangle just saying sneak sneak out loud as she's sneaking up behind her. And then the Whisper just saying, like, stop it. I just think that, okay, if they were
She
like
was just
that the whole
drowning.
time, yeah, if they were like that the whole time, I'd be like, yeah, I love these two.
Um, I think we're gonna. I touched this a little bit on my mini-sode, so as a little, if you haven't listened to this, spoiler. If you have listened, I'm probably gonna say is that at the end of issue 76, kind of, I call them the IDW OGs because they're all the original characters from IDW. They're kind of planning their next moves, and Lanolin and Jewel decide they're not so much going to rebuild the restoration, but they want to rebuild the town because they think that's a good place to restart because they've lost some confidence in themselves
Hmm.
in the wake of the Phantom Riders arc. But when Silver asks Whisper what her next gen, she just simply says, "Find, mimic, end mimic." No Whisper. She just two sentences. That's it. But then Tangle says, Whisper, we've gone through this before. We're not going to end him. We're going to, capture him, stop him. And then Whisper she kind of just opens her eyes and says, yes, of course. And then she turns to Silver and says, Silver, would you like us to assist pause or assist in pause stopping? And it's in quotation, mimic. And he says absolutely with a determined like murder face on his. So it's like I have a feeling Wispango fans are going to be in for some angst drama in the coming issues. As is Whisper going to actually like pull the trigger and put down the octopus? So she probably won't because again, this is comics, and if you read enough, it's pretty predictable to see where things are going. But it's fun that the two of them are going to have some drama because I feel like they need a little, I get why people love them together. They're very, very typical archetype, kind of more silent versus the more outgoing. But at the same time, is that there is some kind of conflicts in personality that I really do think, Whisper would be it would be really fun to see her do a mission with Team Dark, just because they're so much more like get the mission done, no nonsense, just in Omega's case, kill them all. It'd be interesting to see her interact with those personalities.
Yeah.
Radrey, any thoughts?
About Wisp
I
Tangle?
hope.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, with
Yeah,
Spam,
was single.
What were you gonna say, Chauvel?
I was gonna say like with those two, I understand the love for those two. I really, really do. You don't see a lot of like representation, especially of two female characters, just like obviously so blatantly paired together. But Sega would never say that officially. But I do like that idea a lot. I'm not gonna take anything away from anyone who likes them. I just personally not a huge I'm sorry, Whisper and Tangle fan, even though I do like them both individually. Let me just stress that out.
Huh.
That's what I had to say about them. That's all.
I guess the only thing I could really say about them is the build up to it and like the introduction to Tangle I thought was great in IDW, but then as soon as they made like that miniseries, the Whisper and Tangle thing, it didn't seem like it really went anywhere after that. And now they're pairing, and that's it. I mean, like I don't really find their story that interesting. I mean, if you're gonna do like a what is it, like an LGBT kind of story, which is fine. I mean, I like those. Like particularly the last really good one that we got. Like with The Last of Us, which was excellent. I would like something like that. Of course, I can't really see Sega actually allowing that because they probably don't want to get too adult probably with their comic that that's probably
there are no pairing, no officially paired zone.
Yeah,
unless the character's already established to be married.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's also the interesting thing about Sonic the Hedgehog I've been finding over the years is how many adults I keep running into who love this brand. And it's sort of like, it's one of these weird things of like, do they tell more adult stories or they keep it more like Sonic Kids or what's that one? Sonic and Friends. And it's just sort of like, I don't know how. The more I involve myself in this fandom, the more I'm just confused. So, That being said, I would love to see more of a serious story told with Whisper and Tangle, or some sort of development, or some sort of fun. Opposed to them just being. I mean, because they do a lot of this. I mean, at least in the Sonic stuff, a lot of it's like they're pairing and that's it. And then there's a story. And so we don't really get much character moments or any of these things. But it's fine. That's all I can say about it, really. I guess in terms of my controversial ones, what did I write down here? I wrote down something. I talked my spiel about modern Sonami. Everybody knows the controversy I just said. I wrote on here Sonato, Sonic and Shadow. I mean, obviously they've. What's kind of interesting about them in particular, which I find fun and interesting. I think I was reading somewhere. I think it was. I want to say it was 4chan, STG or something, where there's somebody who is writing about how Shadow is basically, mind you, they used very colorful language that I'm not going to repeat, but they said basically that Shadow has become the new Sally. That here's the funny thing. Like, if you follow any of the fandom stuff, everybody keeps saying who the new Sally is in like the IDW series. Because first it was Tangle, and then it was who was up to Tangle? Then it was Amy. Then after Amy, then it became, I think, Lanolin.
Lanolin, yeah.
And then
I never saw it as Amy or even Tangle. Tangle to me was just like she was a little more, I wouldn't say outgoing. she was just for me. I mean, I just love Tangle like off the bat. She seemed fun, um, in her own unique way, like kind of like a girl idiot kind of thing. But and I mean that in the most loving way possible.
Oh,
Those are
right,
my type
right.
of favorite female characters, honestly. But Lanolin, she is very Sally coded.
Huh. That's interesting because I got kind of Sally coded a little bit with Tangle because I remember when I first opened up that IDW book, I'm like, this character is great. I love their energy. I love like their, their attitude. Everything about this is fun, right? And I don't really like. I mean, this is just my opinion. I don't really like Tangle now. Like I feel like she's kind of just there. So, but
Yeah, there's so much you can do with her. But go ahead.
I do kind of see what is it, Tangle and Whisper as kind of a reboot of Sally and Sally and Nicole in a lot of ways, because I feel like it was kind of the stories they couldn't tell. I mean, I could totally see them like just wearing masks, but based on these other characters, particularly like the big moment in like the Metal Virus arc where they had Whisper have that really dramatic moment where she loses, Tangle to the virus. And like I say, this is totally a Sally Cole moment, I mean, that's one of the things. It kind of takes me out of it a little bit. So, like I'm picturing somebody, like typing on the computer, like what I'm doing now. I see that, I don't want to be seeing this, right? So, so going back a little bit to the Sonic and Shadow thing. Yeah, so I guess I'll see. Lanolin was Sally, and then I think it was you, Malzilla, who wrote about how the purple-haired girl, who I guess is Professor Tori, I guess is her name. The mysterious...
Fuchsia, the mysterious fuchsia-haired girl that went from random appearing on Tails Tube to actually being on a billboard in Sonic Movie 3 and then reappearing as pretty much it's all but been confirmed that her name is Professor Victoria, and it's basically heavily implied that she is Maria's younger sister.
Oh, okay. This I didn't know.
Really?
Okay,
so if you didn't know, again, it's everyone should play Shadow Generations. In the game, there's a lot of collectibles. You actually collect Professor Gerald's journal. Ian and Evan wrote it. Evan did some illustrations for it. It's really cool. You can kind of see they present it as like a damaged pages because there's a forwarding to Commander Tower from someone named T. Now everyone thought it was Topaz, but eventually it's like T Tori, Vic, and in the journal we learned that Maria was born on Earth. She contracted her NIDS or whatever they're going to rename her disease. And then Gerald took her up to the Ark to treat her. And, her parents, and it took forever. And the parents wanted to, bring her back if they couldn't find a cure because, she's so away from her family. But they do mention that her parents would have another daughter. And Maria says, I have a sister I've never met before. So it's hard to tell exactly how old Tori or Victoria is from her, the pictures, but she looks to be kind of that, it could be anywhere between 40 and 60, which would probably, she's probably give or take Eggman's age. So, either she's like, a niece of Maria, or she's Maria's younger sister.
We're definitely expanding the Eggman family tree.
Yeah, just bring back Snively and Hope.
Huh. Okay. Because I remember, the reason I'm bringing her up is, Malzilla, you even said on Twitter, I think, you said, it's Sally, and then people got upset about that or something.
I was joking, but yes. I was
joking.
Someone
got upset with you for saying that?
Maybe, I don't know if they were.
I hope that was. Like, that would have been hilarious.
I mean, there's probably someone who was upset. I really don't pay attention.
I don't even remember the comments. Probably if I went back and I reread some of these, like probably some of them like, wait, really? That's what you're complaining about? Like, okay. But yeah, so there was her, and then the most recent one that I saw, which really does check out for me, was if you saw Sonic Prime, there's like a bunch of moments like in between Sonic Prime where Shadow constantly stops Sonic, like, "What are you doing? You making a mistake, Sonic, stop." Of course, he doesn't sound that way, but he's saying
Sounds
this.
nothing like it.
Yes. I should just do an entire Shadow impression. That's not him. Anyway, basically the argument is that Sally was kind of known for being one of the only characters that could really stop Sonic from, his impulsiveness, right? And so basically they're trying to say, wait, has Shadow replaced Sally now? Because he's the one that can stop Sonic, so now this is where that plot line comes from. But
it's like everyone's like, it's a replacement for Sally.
It's pretty funny, right? So, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, this
It's a
character's important.
placeholder.
It's important for some people, I suppose. It's not just, some, late 30s, male who lives in Japan. It's not just for me, right? So, I mean, obviously, somebody else, it's important for someone. I mean, people remember. So, I guess it's controversial. I mean, we'll never see it, but they love, like, I guess what we've been seeing. We've been seeing a lot of Sonic and Shadow, so they don't mind doing that. I mean, in terms of, like, interactions, I should say. I should really state that. We see a lot of
fans are just gonna that thing is just gonna the fans are gonna keep that alive for years.
Yes.
Because...
Well, I mean, I don't know. You have two characters that exchange glances, and a ship is born. So.
Yeah, that's me. That's me in a nutshell.
Hot-blooded rivals always.
Yes.
Always ship bait.
Yeah. I mean, I have more I could probably say about Sally Cole, but I think we could probably do an entire episode just on that. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
You got thoughts, huh?
Oh boy. Yes. Well, what I really should do, to be fair, because I do have opinions about it, but it's one of these things where it's like I don't think it's fair for me to really have an opinion on it because I haven't read the issue. I haven't read Sparks of Life. What's it called? Spark of Life.
A Spark of Life.
Yeah, I haven't read it. So there's that, and it's really interesting hearing your opinion, actually, Chauvel, that you said you had no idea that that's what they were going for. And it becomes...
Yeah, when I first read it, I thought, I was like, oh, this is a really sweet story between
two
Sally
friends.
and Nicole. Like,
right.
Two friends. Like, their bond is stronger. And when Ian said that, I was like, oh, I feel like an idiot.
Why, that you didn't pick up on it?
Really, yeah, I felt like maybe it's me. I reread the story like multiple times. And I felt like, okay, I can see it. But it wasn't that apparent to me when I first read it. And I felt like it's like that, again, another ancient meme, but two female characters or two characters of the same sex making out, and a character just standing there saying, wow, they must be really great friends.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Any other thoughts before we close out this evening?
I
guess it's not evening anymore. I guess it's the morning for you, Chauvel.
Oh, it's not the morning. It's 1 a.m., but it's not. I'm up. I'm usually up anyway watching Toonami. It's my Saturday night, so.
Oh. What were you saying, Malzilla?
I was gonna say, tell us your favorite ship in the comments.
Oh, our listeners. Yes, tell us your favorite ship. Tell me why my thoughts or my opinions or any of this stuff is wrong. I'd be happy to hear from you.
Send us all the death threats about not liking your favorite ship.
Tell us Sally fans are just delusional and we need to grow up.
We're not delusional. We're eloquently lovers of the... I don't know. How do I spin
Of course,
this?
I say this all in jest.
Oh yeah.
But
yes.
I am looking forward to seeing what people think. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, happy Valentine's Day or happy Singles Awareness Day. Don't give up.
That's for me.
Yeah.
Happy Don't Worry You're Not Gonna Die Alone Day.
Yeah.
Wow, we are getting very existentially dark right now.
Keep looking for that person you're looking for. Remember, if you ever feel lonely, that just means you need to find people who, enjoy the same thing you do. And,
Yes.
something that you can enjoy with them. And I do speak from experience. So, yes.
All out of love. I'm so lost without you. Da, 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 da.
So,
Okay, I'm done.
Chauvel, Malzilla, anything you want to say before we go?
I think we've
Yeah,
covered it all.
All right.
Chauvel, again, thank you for coming back to hang out with us. You keep
No
this up,
probs.
we're gonna promote you to junior or co Sonic host because this is your third appearance, and it's like you might as well just join the cast at this point if you keep this up. So I love
My
what
name
you bring.
credits. Yeah.
You make our show so much more interesting than just the two of us yakking.
I enjoy
But
listening to the pod though. It's nice to have something to listen to, another pod to listen to as I work.
Well, yeah, you come here for the raw opinions. We're not paid for by Sega. None of us are
We
owned
don't
by
have
any of them.
sponsors.
There's no sponsors. It's raw.
if people want to give us money, I'm not gonna say no.
Well, we need to get more of an audience before we start doing that. So
I know.
more than like one comment on a video. No. It's like if it's one of these things where it's like I can't keep up with the comments, then I know okay, some people are watching this. So, but yeah. So until then, I'm Radrey and
I'm Malzilla, and I'll stomp you later.
Later, guys.
Wow, if a high five does that, what happens with a kiss?